What is going on, YouTube? We are back again with another Legion TD2 tier list, updated one. I have created one before after a few months of playing, and now we're back again. So this is February 9th of 2022. So it's a little bit of updated one that I've had since I last did mine. They did add a new unit, which is the Gatling Gun. Unfortunately, it is not in this list right here, but my original one, which is linked up at the top if you'd like to see that as well, did not have upgraded versions, so this one does. So we're going to do our best to run through, at least make it as quick as the last one, but we got a little bit more to cover. So I'm just going to use this map as the Gatling Gun. So I would say for the new unit, the Gatling Gun, the normal one I would give a B, and then I would say the upgraded versions A or S. It might be like in between. It's in between these three, between both of them. So the biggest thing with the Gatling Gun is it does not move like the other units. As soon as you place it, it stays right there the entire game. So placement is very key in making this a successful tower. It does do a very good amount of damage. It cost 190 base, 340 to upgrade it. But it is a good unit if you place it right. But placement is the most important part, and some certain builds and rules and everything just kind of don't allow you to use it well or use it at all. So that's why it's a little bit on the lower end. So we're just going to play with that and say that that's the new unit, the Gatling Gun. And then we'll go from there. So we'll just look for some people that I can see double of. Okay, so we'll just go looter. Base looter is D. I feel like most of these tier 1 units are going to be on the lower end. Maybe the upgrades more, obviously, but you know, obviously you're tier 1 for a reason. No health, no damage, no point. And then the upgraded looter, though, I will give actually a B, and the reason is because when you upgrade the looter, you can make him go get Mythium for you. Now, the only downside to this is that he is not then fighting for you during that wave, so that's minus 65, 75, you know, attack power, power score, whatever you'd like to call it, but is that going to be the difference in you holding and leaking? More than likely not, but the fact that he can go get you 11 Mythium per round, and you can obviously have as many as you want, that can definitely be a game changer at times. Alright, let's see who we see some more of. Okay, I see Pollywog. I think I'm going to have to do D as well. Base Pollywog just isn't that good. Not really any damage going on. It's only cost 15. Yeah, just not really worth it. Now the upgraded shooter version of the Pollywog, the Serpent right here, obviously does do a little bit more damage, has a little bit more health, but still not much better. But obviously it is, you know, worth the upgrade. It's not too much. I think it's like $80 for the upgrade, so 95 total for buy and then upgrade. And then the Devilfish I'll actually put at least in B. It's definitely much worth the value for $95, which is buying the base Pollywog again and then upgrading for 80 to get Devilfish. It definitely is worth $80. It can help you very much, especially if you're holding a split or something, or if you just need a somewhat takey unit on certain waves and you don't have a lot of money. It is worth it. We'll just go with that. It is worth the money that you put into it. But again, it is, you know, a tier 1 unit essentially being upgraded, so not the greatest. Alright, who else do we see? Alright, we see all the Bone Warriors. Now, regular Bone Warrior, again, we'll switch up after this one. We won't do another tier 1. But yeah, base Bone Warrior, not good. No health, no damage. Does nothing, essentially. Now, Bone Crusher is built-in lifesteal tanky skeleton bone warrior, and that is, I believe, a $95 upgrade, so $110 to get this man. But he can definitely, especially early game, you can start him and he'll clear a lot. Definitely good on the split and good during certain difficult waves like 6 early game and whatnot. Definitely worth it. Fire Archer I'll put in B as well. It's definitely a good low-cost unit as a boss killer and just a lot of backline DPS help. I think he's 60-65 for the upgrade, so like $80-90 essentially for this upgrade. Very much worth it. And then I lost the other one. Oh, Dark Mage. Dark Mage I have to put an A, and the reason is because the fact that he gives so much attack, I think it's attack speed, if I'm not mistaken. It might be damage, I'm not sure. But for the cost that he is to give, and they always choose very well who they give it to, so I have to put that a little bit higher to give that. I think he's the most helpful of the upgrades for most of the time. Not always, but for the most part. Fire Lord for the first tier 6 unit, I'm just going to have to put B. I know that they probably didn't want to do everything as based on gaining mana, so when he loses mana he does more damage, but the problem in this game is as soon as 99% of the time when someone is being attacked, a lot of units are attacking that one unit. So him being able to ramp up based on losing health is not worth it for a tier 6 unit. There's just not enough time for him to actually ramp up, because when anybody's being targeted, they're basically dead. Oh, here's another Fire Lord. That's weird. And then Phoenix, which is his upgraded version, I'll give an A. It has a lot more health and does do a lot more damage, but again, the fact that it does better when it's losing health, there's such a small window of time during that, unless you have other things helping it, that it's not really super helpful, I think. I definitely think it's arguably the worst tier 6 unit in the game. Alright, and then we'll do Soulgate. Soulgate I'll do in B and upgrade it into A, so it's basically the same thing. It spawns units, 2 frontline, 2 backline, essentially. My only biggest problem is that it does cost a lot of money, and it does kill itself. It doesn't continuously spawn units. It spawns, I think 4 or 5 base and maybe like 7 or 8 upgraded. Now the units are okay as far as what they're spawning, but I'm not sure for, $260, and then I don't even know what the upgraded version cost. I think it's like $420 maybe. It's not really worth it. I mean, obviously if you just need that type of unit, then go for it. It's not gonna, do you dirty or anything. It's not gonna be bad, but overall I don't think it's worth the money to end up killing itself for low tier units. Alright, we'll do Lord of Death. I think basic Lord of Death is probably an A. The fact that he can keep spawning these dragons that do damage. If they do kill, get the final kill blow, the dragon does heal, so that can definitely, be very useful in holding. He's 265, so it's a tier 6 unit, I believe still, yes. And then the upgraded version, Hades, is so much worth it. He gains so much more health. And obviously the bone dragons do more damage, help you much more. Very much worth the upgrade if you can do it. Now, since we're talking a lot about mana, if you don't know, the only person that gives people mana is this steed right here. We're going to put both of her versions up in S tier because she is very much worth it. Base stock value, $80 for just the regular version. She does do decent damage for, you know, $80 and does hold her own as far as not getting killed too quickly for $80 as well. But the fact that she is giving mana to everybody, you know, Dark Mage, she gives it to Fire Archer, she gives it to Hades, she gives it to Soul Gates, and so many of these units, and the fact that she's the only one, she is 100% an S tier unit, no doubt about it. The upgraded version, obviously, even more health, gives more mana. She's very much worth it. If you have a steed, no matter, even if you have no mana on your original roll, pick her up. She's worth it. Even if you have a no mana roll and you need somebody with that damage type or defense type, she's gonna be worth it, period. 100% S tier unit. And the only other double S tier unit that I think for both versions would be the Butcher. The fact that this man gives up to 6 other units lifesteal is insane. He's relatively cheap. I mean, $150 to start. That could be, you know, 150 2-worker start. That's 4-worker start with the Butcher, and he'll hold lifesteal up to 6 other units as well. Upgraded version just has more health and does have mana, so he can heal others even more so. But yes, allowing up to 6 other units around him to get lifesteal is an insane AoE buff and easily the best one in the game by far to me, because that can just really help you build a whole lot of units around, and obviously sustain and not die. Okay, let's see who we see multiple of over here. Okay, Radiant Halo. I think I'm going to do base Radiant Halo as A and upgraded as S. So these essentially just ramp up. The more damage it is doing to a single unit, the it's going to continuously increase. And it is pure damage. So pure damage in this game is the only damage that is basically baseline. So certain damage types are better or worse against other defense types, but pure is just baseline neutral against all of them, so it's essentially good against everything, period. It's not going to be good or bad on each wave, it's just going to be essentially good. And the upgraded version obviously just has more health, does more damage. So this is very much so one of the best boss killers in the game if you can get them to lock onto the boss early enough. Or just anything that has, a ton of health and you need ramped down. It's essentially, a long-range Berserker. And since we brought up Berserker, if I can find his other one, I'll give stock Berserker a B. And the reason is they did kind of really nerf him, which some might call it a buff, but he doesn't have as much health anymore. He does attack faster, but he also does less damage now. He is definitely a ramping unit and essentially the same as Radiant Halo as far as the more times he's attacking the same unit, the more damage he's going to be doing. So he's known for being a boss killer. He's one of the best to do it so long as he doesn't get targeted and can keep ramping up in time. And then Fatalizer, I will give him an A. He does gain a lot more health. And does do more damage, obviously, so it is worth it, I think. He's only 190. Stock version, base version, I think it's 355 to upgrade him, something along those lines. But if you're needing a boss killer, he's definitely, one of the best in the game to do it. Banana Bunk, I think I'll give an A. and upgraded an S. We're actually might have way too many S tiers. Banana Bunk is a ranged tank actually, and does deflect damage taken from him. Base value has a lot of health, upgraded has even more. And the damage reflected goes up when upgraded. Very much worth the tier 6. Very good unit. Basically have no, obviously the only downfall is the fact that, you know, the damage types. But overall, very good unit, very much worth it. The fact that you're a backline tank that deflects damage coming onto you is very, very good. Gate Guard, I'll give a B. He is very much worth the value of 100 gold. And he spawns Cerberuses. So much like Lord of Death / Hades over here, he spawns Cerberus instead of like flying dragons. So the fact that he's only $100 and can keep spawning more units, and if you pair him up again with someone like Steed, he's just going to be able to spawn more and more units. The upgraded version I'll give an A. Obviously more health, more damage, more ability to spawn. And the upgraded version is only $190, so $290 to buy and then upgrade is very good. He's very much worth it. Adam, I'll give base Adam a D. It is pure damage, which can be very, very good, but it just like it's literally just one tap, man. These things, you know, as soon as you look at them, they're basically dead. But that's most of the tier 1 units. They all have very, very little health, as they should. The Atom, though, sorry, that's a Proton. This is an Atom. The Atom, which is, so that's $20, is a 70, so $90. Is very, very much worth it. It does do more damage, and they are based on mana to do more damage again, so, you know, Steed. But it honestly is a little tanky, man, I'm not gonna lie. For only being, you know, $70, $90, it is a nice little kind of backline tank. Like, it doesn't die very quickly for, you know, only being low cost money. So now that we keep talking about mana, if I can find this non-upgraded version, I'm looking, I can't find her, so we'll just skip her for now. Let's see. Alright, Wild Shroom. Wild Shroom, I think I'm gonna give a B, and the only reason why I'm honestly giving base stock Wild Shroom a B is just the fact that they have arcane defense, which is arguably the best defense in the game. And it does regen its health. Now, it does start only at half health, but if you place it right and don't get it targeted early, it's always regaining health, so it can be very useful. Upgraded, definitely an A. It has so much health upgraded, and the fact that it's always regenerating health, and that's without lifesteal. That's just, you know, what it does. That's its ability. So, you know, you pair it with Butcher or something, it's gonna be very difficult to kill and is very much worth 95 and I think 280 for the upgrades. Now back to mana. Disciple stock does go based off mana, does do very good amount of damage, $190, very, very good unit, especially to open with and build around. Now the upgraded version is Star Collar. We're going to put that in S as well, and the reason is when you upgrade Disciple to Star Collar, she has a 6-unit AoE aura around her that buffs mana regen. So if you can build around Star Collar and Disciple, you know, all your atoms, your gate guards, you know, even your steeds and other units that have mana in their kit, they're gonna be receiving more and more faster. And obviously she's a very good unit. So she is very much worth it, can definitely build your team and make it very mana worthy to build around. Let's see, who else do we see? I'm trying to get it, you know, so I stay in the same lane. Alright, Antler Base, Antler for 200 gold. I think has to be a... It's an A or a B. I'm gonna give it an A. Just because it's very much worth it. Very good start. And more reason too is when you upgrade it into white main, again with these AoEs, it gives up to 6 people around them better defense. So damage reduction for up to 6 people, very much worth it. And, you know, being a tank already, it's very good unit to build around if you can get it early and start with it. Alright, Warg, another defensive unit. $85 base. Pretty good, you know, if you just kind of need a tank and nothing too crazy. He's not amazing base value, but can definitely get the job done. Now, Alpha Male is its $200 upgrade. It is worth it. It's $200, like I said, but if you build expensive units around the Alpha Male, it gets worse. So keep it around inexpensive units. If you are going to upgrade the units around it, make sure that they're, you know, tier 1, tier 2 upgrades and not, you know, a tier 6 upgrade. Now, the reason I'm putting Lioness up there is because you can massively buff this Warg. I believe it's only 190 instead of 200 for the Alpha Male, but 190 for the Lioness, and it gets better when next to expensive units. So if you put that around, you know, an Antler and you upgrade it, if you put it around pretty much any unit and you upgrade it, you can massively get this thing to do way more damage and take way less damage. I think I got it, and it wasn't even max at all, but I did a circle of 6 wargs, 6 alpha males around the lioness, and it got up to plus, I think 52 attack and 47% defense. So, and that's only, you know, this level of unit. If I would have put, you know, Bunk or something around it and upgrade it, it probably would have been even more insane numbers. Now, of course, you can't always upgrade, you know, the things around it. You can't always build around it to make a one unit better. But the fact that it gets better when, you know, you're getting better essentially is very much worth it compared to Alpha Male just kind of doesn't. Now, Alpha Male straight up is good. Its stock value is better than Lioness, but Lioness can be buffed to massively exceed that. Alright, stock Bazooka, I'll give it a C. I want to give it a D because he's absolutely terrible, but he is good on certain difficult waves. $45, backline unit, not really too crazy much to talk about. Now Pyro, I'll give a B. A lot of people, especially low elos, do start with Pyro. He's a good, easy start. He's an AoE flamethrower dealer. He does do well, but he does fall off because he switches damage types, which some upgraded versions do switch base, you know, damage and defensive types, which he does. But obviously, if you're going to upgrade a bazooka, you're going to go Zeus, and Zeus has to be better than Pyro for sure. $130 upgrade. Does go based off mana as well as far as shooting his ultimate ability or whatever you'd like to call it. He is worth it. He is a good unit when upgraded to Zeus. The problem is these bazookas base value are just very terrible, and he is only worth the upgrade for sure. Alright. Let's do Elite Archer. Good unit overall. It does have very little health pool, but it shoots, I believe, 5, maybe 6 arrows per shot. It is good, 145 gold. Nothing to complain about aside from low health. Upgraded, obviously I will give an A. Whoops. Because upgraded, it is worth it. He does get way more health upgraded. I think that's mostly the buff of the upgrade is more health than it is more, damage and whatnot. Because his health does like probably triple, if not quadruple. But overall, very good unit. Very, very buffable unit that would be worth it. Doesn't have any mana, so you don't have to worry about something like that. But as far as other buffs, good. Aqua Spirit. I think base Aqua probably is a B. The fact that it bounces to other targets can definitely help you kill backline sins and everything. And it's only $50. You can stack a couple of them. Very good, very worth it. Bounces to other units can help. One of the upgraded versions, I'll give A. This is called Rogue Wave. So anybody that this bounces to takes more damage. So the waves and or the mercenaries that are being hit by this bounce are going to take more damage. Sometimes that's not necessarily the best because what it is, bouncing to a backline unit. If nobody's hitting that backline unit, it's kind of worthless. But it is very good, especially with some, other people, which we'll get to next. But the other version, I'm going to give A. You see a lot of people start Fire Elemental because it is 1000% worth it. $140 upgrade, so $190 between buying and then upgrading for one, but it is so very worth it. The fact that he can bounce to other units and burn them for damage, and especially if you have, at least one of each of these upgraded versions, killing backline mercenaries like Hermit, which is arguably the most OP or best mercenary send in the game, or lizards, or other backline shooter units that they send you, it can definitely really wipe out a backline, and even just wipe out the wave in general. A lot of people will literally just start wave 1 with the upgraded fire elemental, and you're good for a few waves essentially. So it's very much worth the money and definitely one of the better upgraded versions in the game. Base Windhawk, I'll give a B, $85. Nothing too crazy to say. It is a flying unit, so it can be buffed by Tempest, which we'll go to next if I can find the non-upgraded version. But it is a decent unit. Now upgraded, like we were saying with the elementals, so this electrifies everyone. So upgraded Windhawk is called Violet. When the mana reaches full, she electrocutes everyone. So the fact that you could pair these two will definitely help kill a backline unit, especially if you have all three of these. You're going to be wiping out units relatively easily. It is very much worth the upgrade. It is somewhat hard to get in the beginning, but you can do Violet on 2 or 3 depending on how you want to play it, and that's definitely a very good and viable start. And then like we said with Tempest, I have to put base Tempest down here. It is not good at all. $90. Doesn't attack fast, doesn't do a lot of damage, really just not even worth it. But the upgraded version, the Leviathan, I'm honestly only going to put in B because it's just really not worth it. But the upgraded version, the Leviathan, does buff, AoE buff, up to 6 flying units. So for them to receive the buff, they have to be a flying unit, which the devs have made a lot more units that are flying, or at least put it added to their kit because they know that they weren't touching the ground. The problem is it is hard to build around this Leviathan well enough to warrant all 6 flying units. So now the damage buff is good, but the problem is getting 6, getting 6 upgraded Windhawks around it, which you could just do 6 base, but obviously that's nothing crazy. And by the way, regular Tempest does not do this. It only is the upgraded version gives the buff. It is hard to make worth it because you're putting so much faith into this damage buff that can only go to flying units, which even though they added the ability for so many, okay, like just on here so far, we got Windhawk. I believe Radiant Halo counts now as a flying unit. I believe Wildshroom counts as a flying unit now as well. Pollywog and Atom. And you could do other Tempests, I guess, just stack Tempests. But that's it on here. Oops, of course we lose out on that. And then down here, there's 1, 2, 3 other units. So, essentially less than 10 units that you have the ability to buff. Now, something like Gargoyle down here, non-upgraded version you can buff, but upgraded version puts his feet on the ground. So, take that how you want. Not really the best AoE to build around. We'll just say that. Alright, Yazora. I have to go Yazora. Probably an A, and I think we'll finish out this S tier for the upgraded version. So she has a 25% chance to dodge every attack, and she's a pure damage type. So no matter what, she's going to be doing the same amount of damage. She's a tank, $190, and she has a 25% chance to dodge, and her area around her is damaging units as well. Very much worth it. Very good unit. Very good starting unit as well. Nothing really bad to say. Now, sometimes it does feel like she very much falls off because she is a swift damage type. But as long as you put her out, upgrade her, maybe even put a couple out, I mean, 25% dodge chance is just good no matter how many you have. So definitely worth the pickup. Definitely worth putting her out there. Harpy is a D for me. The fact that you have to build her so specifically. So the longer movement she takes before she makes her first attack. So essentially you want to put her all the way in the back. Increases her attack damage. But there's no buff to that unless you have Steed. Now, Sky Queen I'm going to give an A, because the more she attacks, the faster she gets, which is great. And that's not even including if you can actually get her starting and build around her. The fact that you put her in the back line, put your units at least halfway, if not more, up the field. So then she takes a while to get there. She's gaining mana, which means she's gaining attack speed. And then the fact that the upgraded version, the more she attacks, the more speed she gets. And if you upgrade her with something like Steed, she's going to do a nasty amount of damage. Very much worth it. $35 base value, $160 for the upgrade. So $200, but it is a viable starting unit as well for, a wave 1 start. I wouldn't necessarily recommend wave 1 start, but If that's kind of what you're looking at, it's definitely worth it. Egg, I have to put in C. I think Egg, again, could arguably be the worst tier 6 unit. Now, the problem with the Egg is that you don't want it to break. So, this does do damage. It's all AoE, so the wave literally has to come to them. If they have a lizard or something, it's going to get broken. If you just have an egg, like, you're going to lose. Now, what I mean by this is, if you don't break the egg, you get these Hydras. Now, the Hydras are good. They have a lot of health, they do a lot of damage. When you kill the Hydra, it spawns 3 little mini Hydras that also have okay health and damage for, you know, spawning 3 little ones when it dies. The problem is, if the egg breaks, which it takes 2 waves, so you have to place the egg, wait 1 wave, and then wait another, and then on the 3rd wave, it will hatch into the Hydras. If the egg is broken, it will still hatch the next wave, not the wave that it is broken. The next wave, it will hatch the Hydras, but they will be a very much worse version of these Hydras. They do way less damage, they have way less health. They're just very much worse. I would put the broken Hydras probably in D tier or at least C tier with them. But upgraded is very good, very worth it if you can pull it off. It is a very hard tower to pull off and make work, and I wouldn't recommend it, especially for, you know, if you're just starting the game. But hey, you know, go try it. There are strats you can do like Gargoyle and Egg, which now that I say Gargoyle, let's bring him up. Base Gargoyle is a B, and the biggest reason why he's a B, he is an okay unit just in general, but Gargoyle's quote-unquote ability is the fact that you can sell him for 90% of what you bought him for. So he's $145. I think you can sell him for 120, 111 or something like that. So in the build phase, if you build any unit and want to sell them right then and there, you get all that money back because a wave hasn't gone through. Now if you build, let's say you build an egg, 270 I think, 260, 50. If you build an egg, it goes through a wave, and then the next wave you want to sell it, it is not going to sell for very much. It's going to sell for like 100 something. But Gargoyle, no matter what, no matter how many waves have gone, no matter what, anything, he will sell for 90% of his value. So people will use Gargoyle to get a tier 6 unit early. They'll put him down, he'll clear, you know, 1 or 2 waves, and then you can sell him, get tier 6 units and some other stuff. Now the problem with that is you can't really build workers. Now you could, and you could maybe get like a tier 5 or a low cost tier 6 or something on wave 2 or something, but Gargoyle is basically a seller unit, a great seller unit. He's not the best as a unit in general, but he does have 2 upgrade paths, which we will get to. So this upgraded path is called that's not Kingpin, that's King Claw, sorry. He does get way more health, mana based, and does do a slam around him, does do pretty good damage. I would say kind of worth the upgrade, but again, most of the time when you're using Gargoyle, you're selling him so you can go into other units. Now, his other upgraded version, I forget what this one is called. I would almost put it in A, but it does do, I believe it gives all people around him, I think, arcane defense or something, but this turns into a backline tank, and he does do health regen for himself. Oh, I think it's mana regen. I think it's mana regen. I'm not sure. But AoE upgraded version backline instead of like tankiness. He's a backline tank instead of up front. They're not that bad. So even if you just have Gargoyle and really don't have anyone to Gargoyle into, The upgraded versions are not that bad. They are worth it. But most people, including myself, kind of just use Gargoyle to upgrade into something like Bunk. And that's a great, start to a game. And no problems there. Alright, Nightmare. I have to go B. So Nightmare does an insane amount of damage. The problem is he has no health. So you want him to be not targeted, which you can't always make happen. But that's basically his story. That's how you use him. You want him to do as much damage as he wants, because he does do a lot of damage and he does attack fast. But the problem is he has a very low health pool. So, to make Nightmare any higher on the list would mean that I would have to buff him with a Butcher so he has lifesteal so he stays alive longer, or a unit like APS so he does even more attack speed, or something like that. But base stock, if I were just to put him out, he is an okay unit. $185 is worth it, but you have to be very careful. Now Doppelganger can get very, very scary. I'm going to put it on S. And the reason I want to put it on S instead of A is because if you do get Doppelganger with Butcher or APS or both, that unit is very terrifying because it can do an insane amount of damage, especially if it's not getting targeted early from the wave. It's going to slice and dice, and even if it has just lifesteal from Butcher, it's going to stay alive a very long time and do a lot of damage, and is very much worth it. Let's see. Alright, Angler. Now, Angler is interesting. Base Angler, I'm going to have to go D. He's just not very good. But how you use Angler is you want him to get stacks. And what I mean by that is when he is gaining stacks, he's gaining mana. Now when he is gaining mana, it's, gaining the stacks, but it makes the upgraded versions of him good, better. So when you upgrade the Angler into the Bounty Hunter, if you had full stacks, which means you had full mana with Angler, which how you do that is make sure that the wave is dying around him, so he gets stacks based off kills, and not necessarily even his kills, just other people, anybody's kills. If something in the wave dies, he gets a stack. You want him to have full stacks, which equals full mana. Then you upgrade him, which makes his Bounty Hunter very good. Now his Bounty Hunter does the same thing, but he'll start with X amount of stacks based on when you upgraded the Angler. You wait until a lot of kills happen for him, around him, and then you upgrade him again to Kingpin. Now a Kingpin with full stacks is better than, well, okay, let me just say this. A Kingpin with 0 stacks, you just literally put down an Angler, double upgraded. A Kingpin with 0 stacks has more health than a Gollum, and we'll get to him next. So if you get him to full stacks, he does like 500 damage a hit, which may sound like a lot or not much to you, but it's a lot for one hit. He has an insane amount of health. Very much worth it. But you have to get him there. He's a unit that you have to get there. Now, if you can get him there, he's worth it. But waiting on these little Anglers to get full stacks / full mana can either be very easy or very difficult depending on what you build around him. So we'll talk about Mudman next, since I brought up Gollum, which is his upgraded version. Mudman is a C. The reason is he just sucks. $140 gold. Attacks super slow. Is supposed to be a tank, which he does have a lot. he doesn't really even have that much health for a tank. And because he attacks super slow, he's not killing people very quickly, and he just gets ran through, low key. Now Gollum, I'll give B for sure, maybe even an A, because he does get a lot of health. Now the biggest thing with Mudman / Gollum is hardened. So his ability that you have to use is you harden for a wave. Let's say you're bad on a wave, you think you're going to leak, or maybe he's just bad this wave coming up, and you need him to hold as your tank. You harden him, which great. He takes way less damage that wave. The problem is the wave after you harden, so let's say I harden on wave 1 for whatever reason, wave 2 then, you cannot harden and he's going to take more damage. So it's just, he's just not the best unit, especially not for his value, and he isn't the most helpful as far as holding or anything. I wouldn't recommend, if he is literally your only tank option and you have to somehow include him in your build for whatever reason, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you can pick damn near anybody else, I would just do it. Now, since we brought up the angler stacks and a great way to get them, Honeyflower. Very, very good starting unit, especially for newer players. Can absolutely destroy waves by itself. It's an AoE damage, so everyone around him is taking damage as he's attacking, and can clear early waves essentially by itself. Now, if you do a Honeyflower with 1 or 2 anglers, those anglers are going to get their stacks quick because this Honeyflower is wrecking the waves easily. And it's killing all the waves before they'll get through the Honeyflower, so the angler doesn't die. Because when the angler, dies that wave, it obviously can't then get stacks. So pairing these two together is, if you can, it's very, very much worth it. Put a Honeyflower and maybe honestly even 2 anglers, and then, push workers after that, because your anglers will get its stacks super fast, which can obviously then get you into Bounty Hunter and then Kingpin faster as well. Now the Death Cap, I'll give an A, because it is better. It does give you more health, more damage. It is very much more toxic. It's not crazy better, and the Honeyflower / Death Cap does fall off a little bit, but as far as an early unit and to really, build something like Angler into Kingpin, it's very, very much worth doing. But aside from those 2 facts, it does fall off and it doesn't super help your team too much. Alright, Buzz. Buzz, I'll give... This is probably the only tier 1 I'll give a C, only because when you kill Buzz, he does poison the target that killed him for a little bit of damage. 20 gold, obviously tier 1, not the best unit. But Consort does the same thing, and I'm having trouble figuring out if I want A or B. I think I'm going to go B, mostly just because it's an upgraded tier 1 version. But the Consort, much like the Devilfish, can very much hold for its value. It's very much worth the value. It's 95 for the upgrade, so that's 115 to buy Buzz and then upgrade it. And when it does get killed, it does poison the person that killed him even more than Buzz does. So it is very good. Very much worth the money. Chain Fist, 20 gold, D unit. Doesn't really do much. not the best, just kind of unhelpful. When it gets below 50% health, it does attack faster, but by the time that that unit is getting below 50% health, it's dead. It's not going to do better when it's below that, because it's going to die pretty much instantly. Upgraded version, same thing. Obviously, 90% of the time, most upgraded versions, I'm going to put above the base one. Again, it does attack faster when below 50% health. Again, the problem with that is because it's such a low cost unit, it doesn't have a high health pool. So by the time it gets there and it does start attacking faster, it's not gonna be worth it. It is only 20 and then 95. I think it's actually 75 to upgrade, so 95 total. Not awful, but not the best. Alright, Ranger. 55 gold, base Ranger, backline unit. It's okay. Worth the money, especially early game. Now Daphne, all the way at S. One of the, I would argue, probably the best backline unit in the game. It does good damage, and what it does is it sets essentially a target on the person it's attacking. So when it sets the target then takes increased damage. So as far as killing bosses, killing high health units, for a low cost, Daphne is it. She does a lot of damage. She has a decent health pool for being, 125 upgrade, 55 buy. So $180. That's the best $180 you'll spend in the game, I promise you. If you need a boss killer, I would honestly take Daphne over Zerker. Maybe not Halo, just because they're both backline units. But this is going to help your team very, very much. She is very, very worth it. Nothing bad to say about that. Serpent. Now, Serpent, I'm going to go A and S again. So for those of you that do not know the Serpent strat, Sea Serpents and Decoiler, when the wave starts and the wave starts coming towards them, they burrow into the ground, making them untargetable. The wave will walk right over them, right past them. So what you want to do is you want to put Serpents all the way in the very, very front line, the very furthest you can point. Put them in. Now you want your units, your actual defensive wave, behind a little bit, at least midway or even back further. I do a little bit back further than mid, because what's going to happen is after they're done burrowing for a couple seconds, they come out of the ground. So against backline sins, these things will rip apart backline sins. Lizards, hermits, four eyes, shaman, witch, anything. Now especially the upgraded version, it will eat those things alive, no problem. And the upgraded version does insane amount of damage. So if you need, a boss killer that, let's say on wave 10 when the boss comes, they send a little, a couple frontline units maybe, just to kind of bother you, but then they send a hermit. Okay, well that hermit's going to keep the boss alive even longer. That boss is probably going to rip apart your team, but if you send this decoiler, you have some serpents or a decoiler, and they come out of the ground, they're going to eat up that hermit before it's even worth the mythium they spent sending it on you, and then they're going to come up and do a pretty good chunk of damage on the boss. And they have very good health, so $90 base, $185 upgrade, very good unit, very worth the money. Sometimes it is hard to build around them. I would say if you do not start with the Serpent, I wouldn't worry about rolling them and building around it. Now you still could, I still kind of do, because I know how good they are for their value, but that's up to you. Maternal Wanderer, I'm going to give an A and a B. So Eternal Wanderer is 125 gold. When he dies, he resurrects himself and then has increased attack speed. Same thing for the upgraded version. The upgraded version obviously has much more health, does more damage when you kill the upgraded version as well. It comes back and has a much higher increased attack speed. It is an okay unit. Not the best. It is worth the value that you're giving just based on the fact that it can revive itself. So somewhat 2 units in one. Very much worth it, but I can't really put him in S because fortified defense is arguably the worst defense in the game, and unfortunately he has that. Holy Avenger. I don't really think Holy is worth all the hype, to be honest. I'm going to put it in B and A. Oh, we're lagging over here. Yep. I'm going to put it in B and A because I don't think... Where did she go? Okay. It takes a long time for Holy Avenger to kind of ramp up and get her ult going. 270 base as a tier 6, and I think like 430 for the upgrade. Now, if you can get like some steeds or a mana regen or enough people around Holy Avenger or Sovereign to hold while they gain mana, they're going to shred the team for sure. Like, this is almost a S tier unit. The problem is that it has to ramp up, and it takes so long to ramp up. Now, the amount of health that this thing has, again, is worth it enough, but also it can be a little bit difficult. For our last AoE, we'll go ahead and do APS. APS we're going to put in B. The fact that it does give attack speed to up to 6 other units is very good. The problem is the APS in itself is pretty shitty. No damage, no attack speed, very bad. It's basically just a buffer utility unit. It is good for the buffing and utility that it does give. I think it's like 16 or 17%. But the problem is the actual unit itself kind of sucks. The upgraded version, I'll go A again. I think that gives it up to 32.57% attack speed for up to 6 adjacently built units. So it is very much worth it again. It's very much a good utility unit. But again, the problem is the unit itself is not good. $150, I think that's, I don't even know how much the upgraded version is. But not necessarily the best. Okay, what do we got? Gargoyle. Base Gargoyle, I think I gotta go C. Maybe A. Or, I'm sorry, that's B. I don't know. The biggest thing is that the $40 Gargoyle is not that great, but it does have arcane defense. I think I'm going to go C. But Green Devil does take reduced damage reduction, has arcane defense, and 160 to buy the Gargoyle and then upgrade it into Green Devil. It's very much worth the upgrade. Has good defense for its value for sure. I like the Gargoyle. If I can choose them, I do, because I know that they'll hold and that I'll get the value that I'm, putting out. Now, the only unit that does not have an upgrade is the Nikomata right here, the kitty cat. Now, I'm putting it in B, but you're like, well, why does it not have an upgrade? So what you do is you feed it fish. Each fish costs $30, and you can do it up to 7 times. Now, the more you feed it, the more health it gets, the more damage it does. When you get it to 7 stacks of fish, it has lifesteal. Well, I'll call it kill steal. So once it gets a kill, it does gain some life back. It is worth the money. It's nice having an arcane. Again, you'll hear me say that a lot. Probably already get tired of it. But arcane defense unit, that's cheap, much like the Gargoyle, but $60. And it's nice because if you have some extra money and you can't really afford to upgrade or don't really want to put another unit out or don't want to buy a worker either, you can put some stacks into this unit. You know, you have $30. Okay, well, there's a stack for the cat. Like, it can be helpful in that way. Now, the 7-stack lifesteal cat is good. I would put that version at least into A for sure. But overall, the unit is a B for me. Now, the last triple upgrade, or 2 upgrades, whichever you'd like to say, is Mask. Base Mask, I have to go D, $25. It does shoot 3 units. The problem is it does no damage. You have to have so many of these masks for it to do a lot of damage, or you upgrade it. Now, when you upgrade it, it does more damage, has more health. Does more damage, has much more health. The reason why this probably isn't an A, which it might be, but the bigger problem is that you basically have to have multiple of them for them to succeed, which isn't a problem considering they're 25. So I will put this up in A. And maybe this one in B. No. So 25, 70, 120. You have to have multiple of them. They are flying, so you can buff them with Leviathan if that's something that interests you as well. But it's not the best tier 1, tier 2 unit that you could put out there. Even backline wise, to be honest. But it is what it is. Golden Buckler, I'll give it a C. The only reason why it's not a D is because it does take reduced damage from ranged units. Now, if you play with this, you know that that basically is not true. You feel like it's not true. I agree. But a $50 tank takes reduced damage from ranged units, supposedly. It is okay. It will give you the value. Upgraded, I'll go B. More health, more damage, you know how it is. Again, supposedly takes damage, less damage from ranged units, but, you know, don't hold your breath on those waves, because they're going to get ripped through anyway. Pilgrim. Pilgrim is a B unit for sure. You know what, I think I have to go A and then S. And the only reason why I put him so high is because he is the only unit that heals your units. Now you could say, okay, well, Butcher heals, but that's lifesteal, which his upgraded version does heal. But Pilgrim, that is his ability. When his mana reaches full and he casts, he heals units. And the upgraded version heals the frontmost unit by a couple hundred health, and then, you know, continues healing other people. But it is the only unit in the game that heals your units. So he has to be high. And he is good, $135. And I forget what the upgraded version, how much it costs. I don't upgrade him enough, honestly. But he is very much worth the value that he has. And again, for the millionth time, he's the only unit that will upgrade your units. Without, you know, lifesteal and shit, of course. Great Boar. I don't know. The problem with Great Boar is you have to put him in the back. So much like the Harpy, which we talked about earlier, the Great Boar does more damage based on how long of a run up to the wave he has. So put him in the very, very, very back. Let him run all the way up to the wave, and he's going to smash into the wave, do damage. That's great. is it worth 270 to try to build around that unit, let alone like a $500 upgrade? It's not that much actually, but no, not to me. I don't enjoy, if I start Boar, not necessarily start, but you know, my original role has Boar in it, okay, I can work with that. But if I roll into Boar, I almost never take him because at that point I have already, essentially I would have already made him not be able to succeed in my build because of where I placed my units. Now can he still do good without putting him all the way in the back, or, you know, having him all the way in the back anyway and then your units coming up? Sure, but it's not going to be worth it, I think. Now, maybe to you it will be, or whatever, go for it. But because of that, it's kind of a no for me. I honestly think it's probably more BC area for me, but I know people will get pissed off. The last tier 1 unit we got on here is Pee-wee. I think I'm going to do D and B. 25 gold doesn't really do anything, but can be boosted, so it will attack faster. And this can be boosted as well, and this is a $90 upgrade. It can be boosted for some extra money as well. That's why it's a B, and he does get a lot more health in the upgraded version, and arcane defense, so he is worth the upgrade, don't get me wrong. But again, for tier 1, take Bone Warrior. Just trust me on that. If you have an option between all these tier 1 units, essentially, which not all these are tier 1, but almost all, take Bone Warrior because he's only $15, and then his upgraded versions are insane. Definitely the best tier 1 unit in the game by far. We will do Infiltrator next. I think Infiltrator is a solid B unit. $80, just a solid overall unit. Will do good damage, will take a lot of damage and not die too insanely quickly. And you can give him shurikens for $1, I think up to 4 or 5. So he'll throw those first and then go attack. So he is worth his money, and I'll give him an A for the upgraded because he does gain way more health, and his shurikens are better. Though they do cost $5 then, but they are better. Does a lot of damage for what he is. I would say he's just probably one of the best units based on overall value that you're going to get from him. $80 buy and then $200 upgrade. Very good, very worth it. I'm never upset when I have him on my team. He's never a unit that I feel is doing bad or needs a buff or anything like that. Sandbadger. Sandbadger, I think this will be the only unit that base and upgrade are going to be an A. If any tower in the game is a tank, it is Sandbadger. It has the most health, and the upgraded version has the most health. It does even do okay damage, but it is just very much just a solid sit there and take it tank and waste time and get your other units to kill. Upgraded, it literally does nothing except gain more health, which is why I can't really put it any higher, but it is a very, very solid unit. Only 194 gold, so that's 5 less gold than Antler. But if you have a choice between them, so long as you have, it is arcane defense, but as long as you have, you know, a choice between them and some arcane defense, you know, in your role as well, choose Antler, upgrade that instead of messing with Sandbadger, so long as you have, you know, some arcane defense to go along with it, because that's another good thing about it, is that it does have arcane defense, which is the highest unit that has arcane defense is him, except Millennium, which we'll go ahead and do. I would say Millennium is an A, and upgraded version is an S. 270, 90, I think it's 70. Tier 6 unit, definite boss killer, and when it kills any unit, it splashes damage to surrounding units. So on kill, it does, more. And obviously the 420 dollar upgraded version of that is disgusting. Very much worth it, especially if you have some APS, Butcher, any other types of buffs on it. It will definitely succeed and be very much worth the money that you've spent on it, and can easily kill a boss. Does a lot of damage to the boss just naturally. And then one more is the Priestess. I think it's got to be B and A. So the Priestess does heal herself when she gets full mana. If she already has full health, she increases her attack speed. I think she actually does both at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. But it might be like one or the other, depending on if she has full health, and she'll just increase attack speed. But I think it's both at the same time. She is good. Definitely worth a starting unit as well. I start with her a lot if I have her because she is good. She's a good backline unit. Upgraded version, just more health, more, health regen, attack speed, and whatnot. Is worth it. I think it's like 340 to upgrade her. But yeah, so this is essentially Legion TD2 tier list, currently in February 2022. Don't forget that's Gatling Gun, Vulcan Cannon I would definitely put in A, which is its upgraded version, does a lot of damage. Don't know why we have 2 Fire Lords, we'll just consider that one, I guess, Vulcan Cannon. But yeah, I think this is about it. I think it looks pretty decent. The problem is obviously a lot of tier 1 units are just down here because, that's what they are. They're tier 1 units, not tier 6s. But a lot of their upgrades, again, like Bone Warrior, I would honestly maybe even put Bone Crusher and Fire Archer into A's as well, because they might not be so much worth it, better than other units worth it, but for the value, it's worth it. But yeah, I think that's just it. I think that's just about as good as we can get. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think, where you guys would play some people. I know that Gollum Mudman's probably going to be higher for a lot of people. Boars are probably going to be higher for a lot of people. A bunch of other stuff, but this is what I think where essentially people should be. Obviously, if there was some, A pluses, minuses, and whatnot, I would put some, this would look a little bit different for sure. Some people should be on the higher and lower end of these tiers, but just for the category, they gotta go where they gotta go. So I appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments again what you guys think. Questions, concerns. Have a good one.